Greetings everyone. I'm Sammy. We have an awesome story today for you. It's the story of David, a shepherd boy, whom Samuel anointed to be the next king of Israel. And the opponent Goliath, a giant of a man and fighting warrior for the Philistines. Max Headley from GNN will be here next to give you more in this story today. Then listen to the rest of the team as they unfold all the other details of this encounter. See you next time.
Hello everyone, I'm Max Headley. We have a great story for you today. About the underdog. And the monster. In reality, it's not a monster, but a giant. Our story takes place in the countryside of Elah. There is a modern road sign introducing visitors to the valley of Elah, where David and Goliath fought the battle, and David won for Israel. Even though David was becoming an important servant for King Saul, he still cared for his father's sheep at Bethlehem. Alone with the sheep, David composed many songs. Some which we read today in the book of Psalms. So, keep it tuned here, for more details. This is Max Headley for GNN, Good News Network.
Haha, yeah. Alright kids, I'm going to tell you a little story about David, another one about Daniel. Talks about how big our God is. Here we go. David saw Goliath, the big old ugly giant. But David was not frightened. He did not run away. He walked into that battle with a slingshot and a pebble. He said, I'll tell you something, devil. I am not afraid. My God is big, big, big. His love is wide, wide, wide. And in my heart, 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 He lives inside, side, side. He lives inside my heart, inside my heart, deep inside my heart. He lives inside, side, side. Well, prayer was law-defying, but Daniel kept on trying. So they threw him with those lions right about their supper time. They were close enough to eat him. He could smell their bad breath breathing. But it sure surprised those heathens when he came out alive. My God is big, big, big. His love is wide, wide, wide. And in my heart, 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 He lives inside, side, side. He lives inside my heart, inside my heart, deep inside my heart. He lives inside, side, side. Here we go. When I'm feeling lonely, or when I'm feeling scared, or when I eat bologna, I know God is there. I know He's there. My God is big, big, big. His love is wide, wide, wide. And in my heart, 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 He lives inside, side, side. My God is big, big, big. His love is wide, wide, wide. And in my heart, 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 He lives inside, side, side. My God is big, big, big. His love is wide, wide, wide. And in my heart, 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 He lives inside, side, side. My God is big, big, big. His love is wide, wide, wide. And in my heart, oh yeah, He lives inside, side, side. Yeah.
Hello everyone. I'm JV the Bible Junkie. I'm here to do the memory verse with you today. Our verse is found in 1 Samuel chapter 17 and verse 48b through verse 50. It says, as the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead, and he fell face down on the ground. So, David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone without a sword in his hand. He struck down the Philistine and killed him. 1 Samuel chapter 17 and verse 48b through verse 50. NIV. Now, I would like for you all to say the verse with me. Are you ready? Good. 1, 2, and 3. As the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead, and he fell face down on the ground. So, David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone without a sword in his hand. He struck down the Philistine and killed him. 1 Samuel chapter 17 and verse 48b through verse 50. NIV. That was awesome today. You guys and gals are great. This is one of many of my favorites, found in the Bible. I guarantee that if you pay attention, you will learn a lot today. So, strap in, and get ready for the ride of your life. I'm JV, the Bible Junkie. So, keep it tuned in here for more to come. See you all next week.
Greeting everybody. I'm Mike Sullivan, with Straight Talk Today. The story of David and Goliath has always intrigued many over the centuries, yet many find themselves baffled by the events of a shepherd young man, killing a giant who was over 9 feet tall, and a warrior to bet all odds. By falling to a young man, as we said, shepherd boy. The Valley of Elah is a triangle-shaped flat valley, located on the western edge of the Judah's low hills. Its Hebrew name, Elah, is named after the terebinth tree. This valley was an important corridor from the coast cities, up to the center of the land Judah and its cities, Bethlehem, Hebron, and Jerusalem. The Valley of Elah was also the place of the famous biblical battle between young David and the giant Goliath, one of the classic biblical drama stories. What makes this story stand out is the very fact that this story, and battle that took place was recorded, not only by the Jews, but the Philistines, as well as others in that region that recorded the outcome of this intense event that took place here in this valley. One last note is that the battle happened at about 1010 BC, after the Philistines attempted to push along the Valley of Elah, towards the heart of the kingdom of Judah. King Saul and his Israelite army blocked them, facing the Philistines at Soko in the center of the valley. Now, the rest of the team will be here shortly to give you more insight today. This has been Straight Talk with Mike Sullivan. See you next week.
Hello everyone, I'm PF. We sure have an awesome lesson today. It's about, as was said earlier, a young shepherd man called David, and over a 9-foot giant by the name of Goliath from Gath. He was a champion warrior of the Philistine army. Now, here's a description of Goliath from Gath. He had a bronze helmet and a coat of mail that weighed about 200 pounds, bronze leggings, and a huge bronze spear that had a 25-pound iron spearhead. Now, before Goliath was his armor bearer, who carried the shield of Goliath for him. The Bible describes the shield as a great shield. Now, some historians say that the two, David and Goliath, were about 10 yards apart before they began the battle, which would be approximately about 30 feet. Most likely this distance was a little bit greater as they met to talk, and then as they were preparing for battle. Others say that the distance might have been 2 or 3 times that. Regardless, this battle did take place, and historians as well as Egyptians have noted the events that took place in 1010 BC. One final note from me, and that is that in this valley, only one winner would be determined. There wouldn't be a draw, there wouldn't be a tie, because one would have to live and one would have to die. That was the rule of the game. And only one, as I said, would win. The other one would have to be killed. No mercy, no second thoughts, no surrendering, no giving up. It was a fight to the finish until one of them was dead. Now, this valley was also known, even to this day, as the Valley of Decision in many of the pastors' messages that have been preached across the world today. All about this story. Now, Professor Whoopi will be here in just a little bit to tell us the rest of the story today and more of the meaning of what the Bible was talking about. See you later.
Hello everyone. I'm Betty Tellall for GNN Good News Network. I'm standing here is the Valley of Elah, or also known as Elah. As you can see, the hills on either side of me are rough terrain. You remember that in this valley ran the Elah stream, where it's known that David got the 5 smooth stones. For more on this story, I'm going to send it over to our expert in that region, Case Montgomery.
Bet you Betty Tellall. I'm Chase Montgomery, an archaeologist and historian in biblical studies and finding. I want to refer you to the battle map that Mike Sullivan used. Here you can see how each of the armies were located and how that strategically, they could easily defeat one another. We've marked this map to show that Israel is in the blue while the Philistines are in the red. Notice the Elah stream running between them. This is the stream that David was known for getting the 5 smooth stones from.
Thank you, Chase Montgomery. Keep it tuned here for more later from Nail Never Lie. I'm Betty Tellall reporting from the Elah Valley for GNN Good News Network.
Hello everyone, I am Professor Whoopi, and I'm here to whoopee up a big one for you today. Well, believe me when I say we have a big one for you today. Oh, we do. All right, enough of that. Now let's get back into the Bible. In the book of Samuel, that is 1 Samuel, chapter 17 and verse number 48b through verse 50, it says, as the Philistines moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine in the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead and he fell face down to the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone, without a sword in his hand. He struck down the Philistine and killed him. And that is the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 17, and verse number 48b through 50 in the NIV. Whoa! Now, I find this whole story interesting. First, David went to take lunch to his brothers, and then that's when he heard Goliath making fun of the Israelites. He challenged them to send out a champion to fight. And the winner of the two would determine who of the two armies would serve each other. Whoa! Ha! Oh, I get so excited about this story. Hey, I do want to tell you this, that one of the things that Goliath was doing is he was coming down for 40 days and 40 nights. This was a standoff that was happening constantly. He would come down and torment in the morning and throw accusations to Israel. Are you going to send me a champion to fight, or are you all chickens? Well, anyways, and then at nighttime he would come down before the sun went down, and again he would challenge. Well, When David happened to be there on the day that he brought his lunches to his brothers, when he heard Goliath and what he was saying, it raised up something inside of him, because he went to the king and told him, I will challenge this person who dares to defy the armies of Israel. This is God's army, and you don't do that. And to make this short, if you go to the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 17 and verse number 1 through 58, that's the entire chapter, you will find all of the events of this story that took place. Now, I find it very interesting that when David ran toward Goliath, I believe that David knew the God he served, and he knew that God would give him the victory over this giant who was defiling the armies of Israel. I also believe that the stone that was used to defeat the giant was with God's hand behind that stone that drove it into the giant's forehead to strike him down. Now, in verses 45 and 46 of 1 Samuel 17, it says, where David looked at Goliath, and he said, you come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. And this day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I will strike you down and cut your head off. This very day I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. Oh, that gets me all excited. So, at the end of this battle, when Goliath was down, and the stone just put him out completely, David then takes Goliath's sword, and he cuts off the head of the giant. And it was over. Israel, with the help of God, won and defeated the Philistines. You see, the reason that David knew he would defeat Goliath is because David, as I said, knew the God he served, and he knew that God was with him. So, it is time for me to go, but the rest of the team will be here to wrap everything up. So I'm going to say goodbye, a Wiedersehen, arrivederci, hasta la vega, hasta la vega, oh, a hula hula, oh, I'll tell you what, last but not least, Arubabu, oh yeah, oh, don't ever forget that God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, and Professor Whoopi, and the team, we love you, and we want to see the best for you. Goodbye.
So, in case you missed it, here's the quick version. David was a shepherd. He brought his brothers lunch. He saw Goliath. Goliath scared everybody. David wasn't scared. He knew God was stronger. David fought Goliath. He used one stone. God helped him kill Goliath. The Israelites won. God's people were saved. And that's a part of God's story.
Hello, I'm Neil Never Lie reporting for GNN, Good News Network. I'm here at the site of one of Israel's greatest battle moments, where the God of Israel helped the young shepherd teen defeat the Goliath who stood over 9 feet tall, and was the Philistines' champion. So, some have asked, why is David so important? Well, David founded the Judean dynasty and united all the tribes of Israel under a single monarch. His son Solomon expanded the empire that David built. David is an important figure in Judaism and Christianity, and Jesus comes from the line of David, which was prophesied about in the Old Testament. This is Neil Never Lie reporting from the Elah Valley, for GNN, Good News Network.
Okay, so a hypothesis in science means you kind of take a guess of what you think will happen. What do you think will happen if this balloon gets near the candle or the flame? What do you think? I think it's going to pop, and I think I might be startled when it does. Do you think that's what's going to happen too? Well, let's see. If you want to cover your ears, now would be a good time. I don't even have to touch the flame before it pops. So that was my guess. But let's say that this balloon, which is much smaller, more like David's size, right, is filled with water. He is filled with God's power. So let's see if something different happens. What's your hypothesis? Do you think I'm about to get showered with water? Or do you think it's going to stay intact? I'm pretty close. I can't tell on your side if it turns the balloon black or not. It did in my practice run. Nothing's happening to the balloon except some of the water inside is evaporating a little bit, but it's not popping. The water gives it a different kind of strength, and the water helps fight the flame, keeps the balloon cool enough to where it doesn't burst. That's pretty cool. So David, filled with God's power, had the strength he needed to fight Goliath. Goliath didn't turn out to have that much strength. Even though he was bigger and what everyone else thought he was stronger, he couldn't stand up against David and God.
Hi everybody. This was another great lesson today. 2 thoughts I want to close with. Why did God choose David to be a leader? God was most pleased with David because he had a heart for God. Everything that David did was because of his desire to love and please God. David had a desire to love him and to serve others. We should desire the same of our leaders today. Instead, at times some spiritual leaders set themselves up for failure when they get their eyes off God and His plan for their life. One thing I see in this lesson today, and what the life of David teaches us, is that David's heart for God prepares him to be used by God. Our impressive resumes, accomplishments, awards, art, and anything else that we can come up with will not make us useful in God's kingdom. The first lesson we learn from David's life is the importance of cultivating a heart for God above all else. And then, learning to guard our heart. And to let God be the lead in our life in all things. It's been great to be with you today. See you next week.
This has been an OJO production. Thank you very much.